Hi guys, welcome back. Today we are off to take all of our dogs all around the country, putting them where they need to be for when we go on holiday. So myself and Chris are off to the Caribbean. Very, very excited. But we have 4 days before of traveling all about. I'm actually relieved a little bit. But last week I got an inquiry for some frozen semen from New Zealand for one of our dogs, and I was having to plan this before. So they inquired in plenty of time, but then obviously we've got our holiday, so that kind of didn't give us, like, it missed 2 weeks where we could do it. I was going to be going to Preston to do that, to come back here, to then take some dogs to the kennels, to then come back here, to then pick up the rest of our dogs, to then head to my dad's, and then on to my friend Emma, who has Foxhound Gun Dogs. You will have seen her on here, but if you don't know who she is, check her out. And Rachel, who has just opened the Northumberland Dog Hotel, is who we are using to put some of our other dogs, so go and check her out as well. I'm going to actually vlog some bits around hers. I'm going to vlog today anyway, but I'm going to vlog her kennels because they are amazing. They're absolutely insane, and if you're looking for somewhere to just put your dog for holiday, I cannot recommend more. I mean, we've never put our dogs in kennels, and we do know Rachel. She's one of Emma's friends. We met her through Emma. Nice, because obviously we know her, and it's great for us because she has a luxury dog hotel which is literally just opened, but also she's experienced with the working dogs as well, so it's ideal. And like I said, we know Rachel, we know she's going to do a great job, and we've seen the kennels, and literally I think the dogs are staying in just as nice of a place as what we are in the Caribbean. So yeah, so I thought I'd take you along with me. I was planning on filming some of the food prep because I thought that would probably interest you, you know, prepping food for 16 dogs for their holiday, and they're on raw. It was an interesting procedure. We've never had them on raw while we've been on holiday before, and I did order some cold pressed food from Wilson's. Not gonna lie, I ordered 3 bags to begin with to try, and our dogs all pooed in the kennel overnight, which they never ever do. I think it was just a bit of a shock to the system. I didn't wean it in, which I would recommend if that's what you're going to do, probably, but I just thought, do you know what, I'm going to keep them on their raw food. We're lucky that Rachel has a big chest freezer, so does Emma, and my parents, who are getting our house dogs, have enough space for their little portions, so I bagged up their portions and then sorted out a lot of other raw food for the dogs. Cleared Pet and Pony and 2 Pets at Homes out, but the reason I didn't end up vlogging our food prep was because it was snowing yesterday, and it made the 2-hour process probably even longer and just not fun. It wouldn't have probably filmed because it was that wet, and yeah, so I was absolutely drenched, so I didn't film it. I'm going to film today. What I'm planning on doing is doing just a little bit of a vlog, and then show Rachel's as well, and I'm really excited for our dogs to go there. I think they're going to love it. So there's only 6 going there, so there's 3 girls in season, and there's just 3 boys going as well, because we thought, well, we'd book 2 kennels, and we've put Norse, Colonel and Jake in one, and we were going to have Cedar, Novi and Oak in another, but we've got 3 girls in season, so we've had to swap. So Alka, Rune and Aiden are going now. I have the space to separate them when we go up to Emma's, so we're just going to take them to Rachel's so that we can obviously separate the boys and separate the girls, because it's just a shorter journey, a much shorter journey to Rachel's. So on the way up, I'm going to do a Q&A with Chris in the car, and that'll be today's vlog. Luckily, in regards to the stud going overseas, like the stud sample going overseas, we're going to sort that when we get back now. They're happy to wait until their bitches next season, so that's good, because we would have had to have gotten, I mean, the chances were we would have got the right amount of semen to send over anyway, but it's just going to be a lot less rushed if we wait. So we're going to do that when we get back. So we stored all our food last night. Well, this isn't all of it, but this is going to the kennels. This is going to the kennels. This is going. That's going to my dad's, and that's going to my mum. So we've stored it all in here overnight, and then the rest. The snow is melting, thank God. Is all in here. Ooh. So that's all going to Emma's. So nice. This is probably nicer than our hotel. This is where they'll be staying. We've got an outside TV. There'll be a few more beds to come in. Underfloor heating. It's super warm, isn't it? Then yeah, they've got a little outside bit. There's only 10 kennels, so it's so quiet. Like, you can't hear anybody, can you?
So these are the rooms. We have an evening light, so at night time they can have the TV and the light on.
Look at them carrying the bones around.
Nice and simple.
Just got their beds to get in. They'll be all cozy. Oh, that's
I
good.
will put beds in, so.
Yeah, there will be beds
People
in.
don't think like that.
I mean, they'll be happy with that anyway because it's underfloor heating. Oh, see what I mean? Colonel loves like lying like by the door, doesn't he?
Anyway. Even in the kennels, you lie outside in the car.
Oh,
She's just standing there.
she's got a little chair. Oh, is she
Yeah, she
sat on
stood
it?
up. Yeah,
Oh,
she stood.
she was sat on it.
So that's the Tuffy's tube-proof ones. Again,
Yeah.
they're like washable, whatever you close them down.
And they're great beds.
They didn't take long to settle at all.
I think also having the background, the TV and stuff on just helps with
That-
background noise.
That's where Colonel always sleeps in our kennels, like
Mhm.
just right by the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, just loves it. Oh, I can't see the boys. Just see Colonel lay down asleep. We've just dropped the dogs off at Rachel's. I got a few snippets, so I'll add them in. I will have added them in. But yeah, they're already settled. Very, very happy. The boys we knew wouldn't care. And the girls just took a little bit. They were looking for us a bit, but as they would, but they've settled really well. Nice and cozy. I think they're gonna love it, absolutely love it. We've got all of the booked in for our next holiday. Every single one of them are going on our next holiday, so that'll be good. And I think we're gonna hopefully be sending them there quite a bit. Highly recommend it. Like I said, there's only 10. It's really quiet, it's really cozy, really warm, and Rachel's great. So dogs will be very, very well looked after. I'll put a link to her website down below, and if you put Northumberland Dog Hotel into Facebook and Instagram, you can find her on there too. Okay, so we are finally on our way to Scotland. Our first stop is Dad's. I'm dropping Betty and May at my dad's, and then we're taking the rest up to Emma's. So I put a Q&A box on Instagram, and a few of you put some questions in, so I'm going to answer some of those. My arm is going to get dead. I did try and rest it, but it's just wobbling. Oh, lovely sunshine. There we go. Let's go to the first one. Is it hard having dogs and bitches when it comes to seasons? No, not for us, I don't think. We've designed our kennels so we have like, a block of 3 and then another block of 3 like for our own dogs, and the boys are in one block and the girls are in another. Basically, we do sometimes have girls next to the boys, so we've only got 5 boys and the rest are girls. There's 2 kennels with like bars, and then we've got like an extra partition of like, what would you say, like a big, how would you describe that?
Just
like a full sheet.
Wall,
yeah, like a full wall partition on the kennel of the boys, so that if we for whatever reason need to use that kennel, there's like a full wall. Yeah, they can't like get to one another on that one. But also I would never put bitches in season next to them anyway. We'd always have them on the other side. So really no, like we always walk them separate anyway regardless, because we've got that many. Like on their toilet breaks, we always just do girls and boys separate, or we'll do like 3 kennels worth walk and 3 kennels worth walk. So we would just make sure that anyone that's in season is walked separately. The only thing we would do differently really is if there is someone in season, we would walk the boys first so that there's not like scent in. Obviously we've got a few really experienced stud dogs, so if we had bitches in season, they would sniff on and it would be a bit annoying and you'd have to like try and get their attention a bit more. But in general, no, we don't. Well, I think if you had like 1 dog and 1 bitch and that bitch was in season and then you had to change your whole routine, then yeah, but really we're just, yeah. And I make a note of everyone's seasons in my phone. I know roughly when people are going to come in, and then yeah. Have you ever visited Germany? So I've been a couple of times, you haven't, but we are planning on going this year. We've got some friends in Germany that we made friends with through a Jake stud, a Jake puppy, who's over in Germany, and they have come and visited us every year since they first came and met Jake. So it's our turn this year. We've been planning on going over for a few years, and we're gonna go to Germany, meet them, and then we're off to Sweden. And we're taking Jake, we're taking Tilly because she's got a puppy in Sweden. We'd like to meet up with them. We're taking Norse as well because he's got a passport, so he might as well come too, because obviously he came from Norway. And we're taking May because I've always wanted to take May abroad. Oh, and we're taking Alka as well, because she hasn't had a holiday yet. She's the oldest dog that hasn't had a holiday yet, so she's gonna come too. If you were to choose your fighter jet, guess who put this one in? Andy Tinkler. There's another weird one from Andy as well. Andy's best dog, Keith or Keith?
I think it's Keith.
Keith. Fave Friends character? Either Monica or Chandler.
Chandler's pretty funny.
Chandler's very, very, very funny. Probably Chandler. Feed routine. So our feed routine, so we feed raw, and we just feed once a day. And that's it really. There's not really much more to it. We just obviously defrost. We get it in big bulk bags usually, so we defrost it, like especially this time of year, a couple of days before, ideally. And if not, we do get some extra bits. They're the ones that we've taken with us and dispersed away with the dogs, because they're just like mince packets, like 2 kilogram mince packets, and they're great and easier to defrost and easier to manage really. Best dog for beating, picking up and on the peg. We'd probably have different answers for that.
I think Colonel's the best all-rounder.
Yes, Colonel is the best all-rounder, yeah. He is the best one, yeah, definitely this year anyway. Like, what a dog he has been this year.
Jake's pretty good at all 3.
Jake is good at all 3, although I think that Jake, if he can let somebody else work harder than him, he will. Yeah. So in the picking up, if you've got a big team, like, he's still a standout dog to be fair, but like, it depends on, exactly, it depends on what mood he's in. Just sometimes he can be a bit like, the effort is like 95% rather than 110, because there's loads of dogs there. But less and less actually, the more mature he is, I suppose. Maybe that's something that he did when he was younger and I still have it in my mind, because to be fair, I can't really...
He doesn't fail, does he?
No, he doesn't. And he he is a very, very solidly good working dog. So yeah, maybe Jake and Colonel. I suppose Colonel would take the lead on the best all-rounder, because like walked up shooting, he could do both.
Yeah.
Like really, I know Jake can as well, but I don't know, I think it's just really impressive that, well, I suppose actually Colonel's maybe got a nicer hunt pattern with that naturally, but Jake can retrieve further, whereas
Jake's
Colonel can't
really
mark.
good at marking as well.
Colonel's not as good as marking because it's not what he's done. But individually, best dog for beating, I thought you would have said like Alka or
Saying that, when she
Ragnar.
depends, beating on the grouse either.
Yeah, okay, but you say she ranges too much now,
Yeah, but
because she's a very, very good.
she's not a great dog for
grouse.
beating on the pheasants. Colonel's probably better low ground just because he stays that bit closer.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Vizslas are very good on the grouse. Very, very good on the grouse.
Picking up wise, May is phenomenal. Aiden's fantastic as well. Yeah.
Colonel's good.
Yeah, Colonel's good. Jake's good.
Yeah.
Four's actually, like, I would say Thor's probably one of my best solidly picking up dogs. Like, he is, it's so hard. It's so hard to just like pick one, because I really just don't think that we're so lucky that we do have a team that is really consistent. And they just, sometimes you just get bad days as well, don't you? Like, sometimes you're like, what is up with that one today? But no different than people. Note dog, May definitely stands out. Ada and Aiden are really stand out on the grouse as well, picking up wise. But like, Thor's really good. Standout wise on grouse picking up specifically, May, Ada, Aiden. But May's the best. I just don't think you can compare anyone to May picking up. And on the peg, Thor's pretty solid, Colonel's solid, Jake's solid. Aiden's got a bit weird, hasn't she, randomly, but like, I think
She thinks and chooses, doesn't she?
yeah, the thing with Aiden is that she can milk stuff, so like she sat on the peg loads of times and then I feel like she just pretends. Like, there was once that I was training with my friend and we were doing like a clockwork exercise and I threw a dummy over the top of Aiden's head and she wasn't quite paying attention and she jumped and I was like, oh, Aiden, it's fine, sit down. And then after that, anytime I threw a dummy, even if it was miles away from her, she would jump for the attention. So I feel like she just, for whatever reason, takes the mick. Yeah. How beautiful is North? Very beautiful. He knows it. He was actually looking at his reflection in the door, wasn't he, at Rachel's? Is it possible my dog can have you as her trainer from the beginning? Absolutely. Wherever you are in the world, you can train with us. So we do online. We have clients in Canada, Norway, Germany, Sweden. We have them from all over. You can have a dog come every year from Sweden, actually, for residential. But yeah, wherever you are, we can do online training. So yes, are all
How do you take that?
no, it's not. Are all Vizslas born idiots? Let's say yes. Yes, they are. When are you and Chris planning to come chase birds with me and Ansel? So this is actually one of my Canadian clients. Oh,
Let's get a date in the diary.
I know,
Let's
we
do
do.
it.
We need to.
You don't have to come, Tasha.
It's so hard for me to plan leaving the country not a year in advance, because our residency books up so far in advance, even if I've only got one client in at a time at like a certain time. Remember, I think last year I booked, no it wasn't, it was 2 years ago, I booked a dog 2 years in advance or something like that. It was ridiculous and I was like, this is extreme. So I now do try and book my holidays in way in advance. So like we planned our 2 holidays early. I don't know if we've got anything free this year, like for the next Canadian hunting season, but maybe the year after. We did actually just say this morning that maybe a trip to Canada.
Yeah, it's been a long time
would be, yeah, it's been too long. What is the most important for you for good dog training? I think having a bond with your dog, like a good bond with your dog, and not asking too much of them before you have been able to see who your dog is and how they take to certain experiences. Like letting your dog be their true self before you impact it in any way, because otherwise you're never going to know how to train it most effectively. Like if you're, this is why I always say to people, like, don't rush their training, don't try and do too much too soon. Yes, having general manners is important. Yes, you don't want a dog that's stupidly hyperactive and bombing all over the place, but you do want them confident, and you do want them to show you how they see the world and how they take things on before you start moulding it, because otherwise you could be moulding it wrong. Maturity has a huge effect on how they develop, and obviously hormones and different experiences. I would much rather leave a dog be, really get to know them, get the bond, and then regardless of what you're doing, you'll be using the right training method. That would be key. But yes, manners obviously need to be there, but I think that just goes hand in hand. But my thing is, just don't rush it. Like, get to know your dog and really, really get a good bond, because then they'll trust you regardless, and you'll be a little bit more, like, some people I think have a bit of a, well, they need to be doing this, or that dog did that at that age, or my friend's dog's doing that at this age, but they're all so different. So just get that bond and get to know them. I have Jake. No. Jake is probably the most popular, I think. Jake and Iden of our group. I think I get the most requests for people to have Jake or have Iden. How much do you think my dog is excited to come to you in November? Very, obviously. They're definitely excited. See, now there, I've got a booking in November that I took last year, so we're not going to Canada in November. Do you think neutering a dog could help with male dog aggression? It depends on what time you do it and how much training you've got. I think if you have to pair the training up, you can't just neuter them and the hormones go and then that's it. You need to understand why your dog's being aggressive, first of all. Like, usually the most common thing that's linked hormonally is that the dog is quite insecure, and so they are unsure of how their behaviour should be, so they divert to instinct, and then their instinct allows them to become a bit more dominant. And usually these types of dogs mark a lot, and their hackles go up, and they sort of, you know, their body presence heightens when they meet another dog, and it usually comes from insecurity. You have to match the training. If you just neuter that dog, it's not going to fix it unless you also help them. The thing is as well that dogs obviously mold their behaviour through repetition and habit, and I don't recommend neutering a dog too early, because you want them to develop properly, and their hormones need to be there for them to develop properly. But you don't want them to have learned to follow that hormone and that dominant trait, because even when you take that away, that's still going to be their default behaviour. So you kind of need to pair it. So no, it's not going to fix it. Will it help with it? Yes, potentially. But the main thing is the training. So we have 5 stud dogs, all entire male, 4 stud dogs, but 5 entire male dogs, and none of them are aggressive. They all live, and we actually get asked that a lot, because we have a lot of friends that have multiple dogs, multiple male entire dogs, and we have a lot of friends that can't pair them together. We could pair. Norse and Thor are not the best two to put together.
It's just too high energy dogs.
But they're just, yeah, like, it's more personality wise. It's more like their personality. And I would say Norse is quite a dominant dog, but he's just figuring it out. He's still young. Have him with like Jake, who's really neutral, and then he doesn't allow Norse to have to reach that level of dominance, because he's not going to get any reaction from Jake, whereas Thor probably would put him in his place more. So you don't want to egg that on. So it's just pairing them appropriately. But anyway, like, there's no reason why a dog's hormones should lead to aggression. So it's more to do with the training. But yes, I do think it can help, because the hormones then won't guide your dog if nothing else is. But the training comes first. Do you take in a dog for residential that has previously been reactive to another dog? This person has actually just booked their dog in for residential. And the answer is yes. We deal with a lot of reactivity. We get a lot of it. And again, as I just went on to say, most of it comes from male dogs, insecure, go into a hormonal default. We have had quite a few females, and that tends to be, the females is more like an excitable thing off the top of my head. Obviously there's different reasons why different dogs react differently. There's many a reason why a dog would be reactive, but yeah, we deal with plenty of it. Our dogs are great because there's so many of them, different breeds, different temperaments, different sizes, different ages, different experiences, that we can introduce different dogs at different times and test dogs with many different dogs, keep them on their toes with it, sort of simulate walk-in scenarios, like you'll go and you'll pretend to be another person walking the dog. And
one of the most common things we do.
It is actually, yeah, I would say, because we do get a lot of pets, like working bred pets. I would say 90% of our residents come from the household environments, and most people are struggling with the reactivity and the socialisation, and it is hugely what we do, isn't it? And I think it's a huge advantage to people sending their dogs to us. I mean, we get repeat clients that purely just send their dogs to us because it's their dog's enjoy it, but also it's just great socialising because they can mix with so many different dogs and learn different things from our dogs. So yes, we do take reactivity. The only thing I really don't take is human aggression, because I am not experienced in it, and I'm not the best person for it because I just don't have enough experience in it. I've dealt with that very, very minimally, and yeah, it's just not something that I have enough experience to do. Why did you decide to import a golden retriever for stud, and what was the process? I love this question. This is a good one. The reason I imported a golden retriever was because in the UK there are a lot of golden retrievers from the same lines. A lot of them are carriers, and it seems to be very common that I feel like it's probably because there's not a huge amount of working golden retrievers in comparison to your working Labradors, and I feel like when a golden retriever does well working wise, people think, oh well, it works well, so I'll breed it, and even though it's a carrier, I'll just put it to a clear or whatever. Personally, for me, that's not my cup of tea. I just think you're carrying it on, but that's my personal take of it. So I knew there was a gap. When I was looking for potential retriever studs or even puppies, I would find it so frustrating. DOI is so high, like everyone kind of breeds with the same dogs, and also I feel like I've had golden retrievers all of my life, and I feel like the type that I'm seeing now is very, very different from what I grew up with, from what I had when I was younger. I don't know if it's a trialing thing. I don't know if people are wanting to breed golden retrievers smaller and slighter so that maybe they think they compete better against the Labradors, because obviously it's kind of known that usually people would say, oh, golden retrievers don't stand a chance up against a lab. I don't know, I don't trial. In my team, my golden retriever, my experienced golden retriever works just as well as any of my Labradors, if not better than some, you know. And my old boy, that when he was hellish driven as well, like the last dog I had, how long's Bowman dead for? 4 years? 5 years? 5 years. But he was hellishly driven, like loved it, lived for it, and would retrieve all day long. But like I would say he was more driven than May, like back then. Obviously May knew her job, but like to train wise, like he would just do it all the time. But anyway, I don't know why. I feel like the stamp that I like and the stamp that I grew up with and the stamp that I'm used to is few and far between. But over in Europe, they seem to be keeping that. So if you look at the difference in size between Norse and Iden, my bitch, and I love Iden and I get a lot of compliments on Iden's size, but she's still got good structure. Like, she's not like really slim, but a lot of them just seem quite slimlined, let's say. Let's not call it snipey, let's call it slimlined, because everyone likes different things. But personally for me, I like a golden retriever to be a bit stronger and a bit bigger, and I felt like the stamp overseas was my kind of stamp, and like I said, I felt like we were missing that here in the UK, and it was stressing me out looking for puppies, like really stressing me out looking for puppies. So I started researching overseas, and then I thought, originally I was wanting a bitch, wasn't I? And then I was like, no, there's a gap here, and I wanted to bring something that I feel is valuable in the UK into the golden retriever lines in the UK, and I really, really have landed lucky with Norse. Like, he is everything I could have asked for and more, everything I wanted. He is strong. He is also athletic though, like he's got the perfect build. He's obviously going to fill out even more, he's still young, but he's got beautiful structure. His temperament is ideal. He's very traditional golden retriever. He's clear of everything. He's got great health tests, and yeah, he's just, we couldn't have asked for more, could we? Like, he is exactly what we would have wanted. The process of doing it, lots of research. It's not cheap, and it is a lot of faff. So I was very lucky that my friend Emma, who we're heading up to see, managed to organise. She had someone coming over to collect a puppy from her just in time, so we managed to organise it that basically I paid for this person to go and get him, and then she brought him over when she came to collect her puppy. He had to be flown from Norway to the Netherlands, and then he was driven over here. So that's how I got him. Luckily, I was very, very lucky and very, very grateful to those that helped me get him over here, because it was looking, I thought it was going to be easier, and then when I started looking into it, I was like, oh. So yeah, you need to be organised with it. I was very, very lucky that Emma had contacts, and those contacts helped me out. So our friends in Germany were coming like the next week, so they would have been able to have done it as well. So yeah, we were very lucky that we had a few contacts that would have helped us. But if we had done it ourselves, it would have taken quite a bit more, which we would have done. We were happy to do that.
You were considering, you were going to drive to Norway,
I was going to consider driving to Norway, yes. And originally that's what we looked into, or even flying. But we would do it again, and if we did it again, we would do it that way. But if you know, we had to. But it takes a lot more planning, so definitely like do your research and expect to spend and expect to give a lot of time to get it organised. So obviously he needed to be like, he got his passport and he got his rabies and everything done, and then he had to be 4 months, I think he was about 4 months old when he came over, so he stayed with his breeder, and then we, as I said, organised for him to come over. But plenty of planning, plenty of money. How did you choose all the dogs' names, and what got you into training and shooting? Dogs' names, oh god, all of them? Okay, May was chosen for me. She was chosen, so May was born, her litter, there was 9 of them, and 7 of them were born dead, and they had to be hand reared. And a gentleman who helped at the kennels, he did like building work for my boss, so the guy that bred May, my old boss, the man that I worked for when I first got into this, he bred her, and they all had to be hand reared. And Gary, who was there, for some reason, I can't really remember, but she was originally named Mary after him, and then like Gary Mary, and then they changed it to May. So I didn't name her. Tilly, she was already named. We bought her at a year old. my second boss found her for me. So she came at a year old. Jake was already named. We bought him at a year old. Originally we weren't going to, but you knew the breeder really well. We went to put our names down for a litter. He said he had a stud dog there. We really liked him. He was cutting back on dogs, so we were like, cool, we'll take him. So he was already named. Chaos has had many names. She's been in a lot of homes. We took her at 6-year-old. So we didn't name her either. Betty, my second boss, found her again and for you, and she came at a year old. She was already named. Ada. So Ada's got a cool background actually. So Ada was the first puppy that I bought as an adult. Well, I didn't buy her, she was given to me, but I got as an adult. So I named her after my horse that died about a year before. I had a horse that sadly had a brain aneurysm and died at 9-year-old, so I named her after her. So my horse was called Bronte, but her full like stable show name, whatever, competition name was Adelaide Grange Bronte May. Couldn't call her May because I already had a May. Didn't want to call her Bronte because Bronte was the stable name. Grange is not a name, so we went for Adelaide, but Adelaide was too long, so we shortened it to Ada. And I thought I made that name up, and then realised one day when I was visiting my granddad's grave that my great grandma was also named Ada, and my dad always thought I named it after her, which is weird. But yeah, so that's where that name came from. Thor, you named Thor, but there is a background to Thor as well. I had a dog, so my first boss that I worked for, who I trained gun dogs for, he used to buy them in, I'd train them, or breed them and I'd train them, and then he'd sell them trained. So he bought in a dog who his kennel name was East. It was like East something Hill or East something. If Fiona's watching this, I doubt she is, but Fiona who bred him, it was like East Not Hill or East something Hill Thor, I'm sure. But anyway, Thor was part of his kennel name, and so I named him Thor, and he went on and was sold. But I was absolutely I trained quite a lot of dogs there, and they all went, and it was sad, but it wasn't as sad as what it was when he went. I would have had him as well, and I always said I would have had him. So I wanted to name my Thor after that Thor, because he stood out to me a lot. There was two, I loved all the dogs that I trained up there, but he was another standout one. Iden. So we bought Thor and Iden together, and they were a month apart. And we were driving back from Skye, and we were like, well, Thor is a Norwegian god name. We need her to match. So we literally just researched Norse mythology, didn't we? Gods. And Iden is the goddess that give Thor the golden apple of immortality, and she was golden retriever. We were like, oh well, she's golden, and it would be good if Thor had a little bit of good luck. And to be fair, he kind of needed it, because Thor has had a very, very serious injury when he lost half his foot. We thought he was going to lose his leg, and then also we almost lost him in the river shooting season. Genuinely, we thought that dog was gone. It actually makes me emotional to even think about it. He's a lucky dog, and I think it's because he's linked to Iden. That's my theory. Colonel, you named Colonel because when he was born he had a mustache shaped marking, and I thought it was because a colonel would have a mustache, but you told me later it was after the guy from KFC. Oak is because Tilly's kennel name is Angel Ivy of Wild Nook, so she had the Ivy, so all of her first litter, their kennel, well, all of our litter actually, litters have been kind of linked to that, and Oaks just happened to be Wild Nook Angel's Oak. We named them Sitka, Ash, Oak, Maple, whatever, and I liked it, so I just called her Oak. Hence where Cedar then came from afterwards. We kind of linked it back to that theme.
I still think Acorn would have been better.
Yeah, Andy and Chris were like, call her Acorn. No.
You got the rapper either.
No. Who who's next? Alka. You named Alka.
So another Serbian. If you look back through the lineage of it, the Serbian lineage, Alka was on that, wasn't she?
Yeah, there was like an Alka back in her Serbian lineage. So you just picked it off there, didn't you? You had it in your mind really early on, like that's what you were going to name a bitch that we kept from Ada. Rune was just, again, like, that was really random, but I wanted to link it, like, to some sort of, I mean, it's not really linked, but it's like Thor's daughter. So we kind of, like, I don't know, I think I was just looking up, like, words associated with mythology and, like, folklore or something, and I just thought, oh, that's different. Like, I don't know another Rune. Ragnar you named just because Chris likes the Viking stuff. We have a lot of like Viking, Nordic, like themed names.
Pretty sure when the visitor letters, the actual kennel names are all Vikings.
The Ada's first litter, all of their kennel names were Viking characters. Norse. We wanted to link him back to his origin in Norway, and Norse says it all. So there we go. At first I was like, oh, I don't know if it sounds like a good name, but I love it now. Like, it definitely suits him so much. And then Cedar, like I said, linked to Oak. Oh, Novi.
Oh, yeah.
Novi. So, Novi, we bought later on. So we've had, like, A couldn't be bred from, she failed her eye test. My old boss spayed her, sold her to me. That's how I ended up with her. Thor was meant to be a bitch originally, so I trained Thor's mom in the hope to eventually get a bitch back, a red Labrador bitch, because we wanted to have our own line of Labradors, and my bitch that I was meant to have died, so I ended up taking a dog because I trained the mom and was due a pup, so I just took a dog, and I'm so glad that I did. And we had her name down on a litter of her friends, and she tried the mating, didn't take. 6 months later tried the mating, didn't take. 6 months later tried the mating, and then didn't think she took. Started inquiring about puppies. That's actually how I found Novi. Originally I inquired about her when she was a puppy, but we were still waiting to hear if my friend's litter, what was, you know, going to be. We didn't think she was pregnant, but it was too early to scan, so I decided to wait. She was pregnant, she had one pup, but obviously my friend kept that puppy. But at that point we then had Thor stood out, and we kept Rune from his first litter, his first mating, because I trained the mum as well, and she was a nice dog, so we took her. And then Rune failed her eye test. So basically we had like so many attempts over the years, haven't we, of having a Labrador and starting our line, and it just never happened. I mean, hence why we've been going 6 years and started with Labradors. That's how I started my career. That was all I trained. I spent 5 years training mainly Labradors, like 95% Labradors was my main job, and have never bred any, which is mental. So when we seen Novi was re-advertised, she was called Phoebe at the time. We wanted to obviously change her name, and we wanted something to represent a new start for her and a new start for us. And Novi comes from Nova. Supernova, that's it. Something to do with like new, because at first we were like Nova, and then we changed it to Novi, so that's where that comes from. So we wanted something to represent new start, and she's been great. We are planning a litter from her this year, so her and Jake hopefully will be having puppies this year. So yeah, well, the waiting list, I've never had a waiting list like it. Probably because people have been waiting for us to breed Labradors for 6 years. When buying a puppy, what would be the reason for a bitch or a dog? Personally, nothing. Like, you always say dogs are, like, you find the dogs more chill. I don't notice a difference, other than when they're in season, obviously. Yes, when bitches are around their season. Some bitches we would never know. We would never know, they don't change at all. Others, like Tilly, you know, like, a month before she's coming in, she's like, I'm not working with you. Very hormonal. So there's that to consider. If you don't want that hormone dip and dive, like, go for a dog. But if you were going to spay, like, eventually, then doesn't matter, I suppose, but there's that to consider. Other dogs, whether you want to deal with, if you've got a male, you've got a female. Dogs mature later, so I was going to say faster. Dogs mature later, bitches tend to mature a bit faster, but again, it doesn't really matter. That can differ depending on the breed. You know, you can have a bitch Vizsla that's going to mature later than a dog Labrador. Personal preference. Like, for me, I don't care either or. Like, I do go off of breeding plans, really, if I'm being totally honest. It's what I want to keep, because I want to keep all of my lines, so I always want to make sure I've got a bitch there. Obviously we have stud dogs, we wanted stud dogs. It doesn't matter to me though, like, I don't prefer bitches or dogs. There's nothing. You do prefer the dogs. This is a long video. I'm only gonna do like 2 more, I think. Let's do one from Andy Tinkler. If you were a grape, what colour grape would you be? Red. What did you say?
Green.
Oh. A Novi update to finish. Novi is doing really, really well. She's obviously had her first season with us. She's very, very chill. Like, her and Jake are going to be a great pairing. But I haven't really done loads and loads of training with her. I was explaining to someone who is on their waiting list recently that when they get a puppy from her and Jake, you're going to have to make sure you don't overtrain. Like, these dogs need confidence and they just need to be kept winning all the time so they don't doubt themselves. They're really methodical dogs. Like, her and Jake are very similar. I think she's more naturally driven, but I think she's softer than Jake. But they're very, very similar. Like, just your really good, solid, traditional Labradors. But she's done really well. The problem with Novi was that she hadn't really had anything done with her. And again, very methodical, very soft. Needs that confidence, needs the right training, the right amount of training. But yeah, just a handful of training of the right thing, short sessions, keeping her confidence going, and she's become no bother. Her first day out, she didn't pick anything. Again, just that confidence. I mean, she's around like 11 other experienced dogs as well. Like, the chances of the young or inexperienced dogs picking when there's a lot of my experienced dogs out is quite slim. So usually at the start they don't tend to pick much, but I don't expect too much from dogs when they're just learning or they're first out. I just want them to take on the day, enjoy it, and take it for what it is, really. But I did take some game home with her, and I did some retrieving in the garden. I'm not really one to normally do cold game training. I don't really find it necessary. I haven't really needed to do it with anyone, but I did think it was a good thing for her just to make sure that she had that confidence, give her that extra bit of confidence without the pressure of the other dogs. And she retrieved no bother. Like, she just has such confidence now in her ability and the routine of a retrieve, which is all you want for any good dog, that she doesn't question what I'm asking her to pick. And she's retrieved some nice birds, and she's been really good. She sits really quiet. Her switch off is great. She doesn't really ask you any questions. She's not wondering why you've asked her to sit for a long period of time. Shot training, I think, for the peg, we'll have to take that slow, but I do that with all of our dogs anyway. Like, we're never in a rush to shot train. But I do think with her being a bit of a softer nature and feeling the pressure, we're going to have to make sure that we do just take our time with that. But we're not that bothered. We don't really, you don't need loads of dogs on the peg. Like, it's taken us ages to, we've not even yet done shot training with Alka because we've already got all the other dogs that are good on, like, all the other dogs that have come before her that are older than her are good on the peg. So we just haven't bothered yet, but we should really. We don't do enough peg shooting or walked up shooting to warrant it, but we should really get it done. But that would be the only thing that really Novi would need any more time with. She's been grand, and she's a lovely girl, very, very sweet girl, and I'm really, really pleased that we got her. We say that all the time, don't we? We're so glad. Like, she's just fit in, no bother. She just needed to build a bond and build the trust. Like I said earlier, it's the key thing. But yeah, I think I'm going to finish the vlog here because I mean, it's going to be dark by the time we get to Dad's and Emma's anyway. But yeah, bit of a insight as to the mayhem, although it probably didn't actually seem that hectic on the vlog because I only filmed little snippets, but a a bit of an insight into the mayhem of organising 16 dogs to be placed in safe hands while we go on a holiday, and a little bit of a tour of Rachel's amazing hotel. The rest will be with my dad, my mum and Emma, and they'll have a great time there too. They'll all be spoiled, they'll all be well cared for. The dogs at Emma's are going to have a great time, I know that, and the dogs that are with my dad and my mum are going to be spoiled, probably come back overweight. But not with my dad, but definitely horse with my mum and my nan and granddad. Yeah, they'll all be well cared for. I'm sure, I don't know, by the time I pop this up, we'll probably be back or we'll be on holiday. I will be vlogging the Caribbean, so if anyone's interested to see that, then look out for that one. And we'll be hopefully doing 1 or 2 days fishing in the Caribbean, depending on the weather. So I'll be vlogging that too, which will be really, really good. I've never done fishing abroad. Oh yeah, I have, in Alaska.
Yeah.
But this is different. What type of fishing is it? I'm not a fishing expert. Oh, we don't know yet. We've not decided.
No.
I thought you said there was a
I
specific.
want to do some fly fishing, but
They have a beautiful Caribbean vlog with us fishing overseas, which will be good. We'll catch up